Ahoy there! Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another episode of the Destroyer Pilot's Manifesto, the series that aims to infuriate Reddit by teaching you that destroyers are not actually as worthless as people make them out to be. Suboptimal does not mean useless, and Reddit really needs to understand that people play this game for fun, and if you find flying destroyers fun, there are plenty of reasons in order to do so, and I've kind of gone over that many times. Friday's video on the Talwar Assault actually seemed to inspire a lot of interesting discussion. I saw a lot of people saying, hey, this is a really interesting idea, let's go out and try this. I've been getting loads of DMs over the weekend from people flying Talwar Assaults and indeed other destroyers and hunting frigates. And a humongous shout out to Lord Rahman, who kind of took this and went, okay, I'm going to go hunting. He's my resident destroyer builder, by the way. I'm going to go hunting and I'm going to showcase every single little kill mail that I've managed to get in, of all things, a Dragoon sniper. Now, a lot of people were asking about, okay, so the Talwar works for this, but what about things like the ALGOS or the Dragoon versions? Are the drone ships as good at this? So, I'm sitting here thinking, do you guys have access to my Google account and you're secretly looking at my notes? Or have you just been, you know, just a lucky guess as to what videos are coming next? Because I've been flying the ALGOS Assault for quite a while and want to showcase this one in action next, because it's actually surprisingly fun for PvP, and the Dragoon Assault as well is just as useful. You can definitely do this. Is this absolutely optimal? Are there ships out there that could do this better? No and yes, respectively. But the point is, as I said, we're having a look at fun. Destroyers, yeah, they're suboptimal, but they're also nice and cheap, both in hulls and fittings. They're cheap in skill points and in ISK required to unlock those skills, and if, like me, you're a frigate pilot, they're already using a lot of the skills that you've already trained, which is so much better than me also going up into cruisers, so suck on that, Reddit. Anyway, before we jump in on things here as well, I do also want to give the winners of the Combo Omega from last week. That was the Probe Covert Ops video. I asked you what your favourite non-combat ships were. The 3 Combo Omega winners this week are Vasmar, congratulations to Silent Snooper, and congratulations to Kyle. Now, there are 3 winners, despite me only saying 2, because the week before, one of our winners still hasn't contacted me, so I am now rolling that across. So the 3 of you who have won, congratulations. I will respond to your comments on YouTube. Please either respond there, or find me on Discord if you feel a bit more comfortable doing it on Discord rather than publicly on YouTube. Let me know your character's name and your character's 11-digit ID that you want to receive the month of Combo Omega. And well done, guys, thank you for participating. Keep your eyes open, glued to this channel, there will be more giveaways later this week. Now, if you do enjoy this video, let me know by hitting a like on it, sub to the channel for all things Eve Echoes, ding that notification bell to never miss an upload, and let me know in the comment section down below what ships and topics you want to see me cover in future. If you do want to go the extra mile and be awesome to help support this channel, you can do so by joining us on Patreon, or indeed by checking out our Redbubble merchandise store if you've ever fancied representing this channel, Captain Benzie, or indeed the Catskull Academy or the Catskull Cartel on something like a t-shirt, a hoodie, a water bottle, stickers, notebooks, even a clock. There's pillows. Oh, it just goes on, it's amazing. I upload the design, they do all the rest. Anyway, folks, let's jump right in then to talking about the ALGOS Assault. The ALGOS Assault is the Gallente Federation's Tech 7 Assault Destroyer. So if we go to the Gallente Federation ship tree, climb the destroyer branch to Tech level 7, here is the ALGOS Assault. Now, I'll be really honest, I actually really like the ALGOS hull. This is such a cool looking hull, that kind of trident design, the fact that it's got these, I assume they're scanning array sort of spheres there on the back. The fact you've got the sort of the lights on the front and what I assume are the drone launching bays out the sort of the wings there on either side. It's just a really cool looking destroyer, and it's pretty iconic. It gets some really cool skins too. Anything that gets the Grimace skin's alright in my book. The Yule Envoy is nice and shiny and just a little bit crazy and Christmassy. I do quite like that. I think the green's a touch yellowy for my tastes, but it's still a pretty cool skin. And of course the absolutely badass titanium silver skin, which I do need to pick up for this, because now I'm flying the ALGOS Assault quite a lot. I do want to have the titanium silver skin. I just love that gunmetal, the silver, and the sort of bright orange vibrant detailing there, and the fact that that then contrasts really nicely against those sensor array spheres, and indeed the sort of the almost cockpit there at the front as well, just looks so cool. Anyway, so the ALGOS Assault itself. Let's have a look at this in regards to its fitting profile. We've got 3 drone tubes. These can launch only small drones, of course. It's a destroyer, so it's using only small drones. We have 2 high slots, 2 mid slots, 4 low slots, and then 3 each of the combat and engineering rigs. Now, this gives us a decent amount of versatility. The 2 high slots, of course, are supplemental damage compared to the drones. The 4 low slots give us a bit of an option regarding things like tank and damage control, that kind of thing. The rigs, obviously having 3 different rigs, again, we can rig for extra damage, we can rig for extra lock-on, we can rig for extra speed, all that kind of thing there. The only problem I have with this fitting profile is the 2 mid slots. That 2 mid slots is really disappointing, and in fact if we jump a layer down to the ALGOS Sniper, the ALGOS Sniper has 3 mid slots. And I don't get why the Sniper has 3, but the Assault only gets 2. It really does cause a lot of problems here for the ALGOS Assault. For the Assault Destroyers in general, all of the Assault Destroyers have 2 mid slots, and the Snipers all have 3, and I just can't help but think giving it a 3rd mid-slot would make a lot of sense. Like, a lot of sense. It would go a long way to fixing a lot of the problems that myself and other people have with this ship. Now, anyway, the power grid output, 56 megawatts, is actually massive. That's really powerful and really useful and gives us some really interesting capabilities when it comes to fitting this particular ship. Beyond that as well, we then have a fairly sizable capacitor as far as the Assault Destroyers go. It is still a pitiful capacitor overall. It's basically a frigate capacitor rammed into a power-hungry destroyer. But as far as the Assault Destroyers go, this is on the better end of things, and if we can kind of avoid using the capacitor, well, we can get around that weakness. The defense is fairly tanky, again, for a destroyer. It's a Gallente ship, so most of it is in structure, but we've got a sizable armor tank here as well, with a somewhat decent shield not far behind. I mean, compared to something like the Dragoon Assault, which gets more armor, but loses a lot of that shield and ultimately comes out feeling a lot weaker overall. The ALGOS Assault to me does actually feel fairly solid, as, again, to quantify as far as destroyers go. It's not going to stand up to a battleship anytime soon. It's not going to just sit there and go, come at me, and let someone shoot at it with large autocannons. It's not going to work like that. But it is fairly tanky if you're sort of moving and if you're taking on smaller ships, like frigates, like we're intending to here. The signature radius also isn't terrible at 60.3, it's smaller than most cruisers. It is still obviously twice the size of your average frigate, which, yeah, still fairly problematic, but I think that's just the part and parcel of destroyers. They're going to be large ships that are fairly easy to hit. They don't have quite the same tanking capability as the cruisers that they're almost the same size as. Scan resolution is really nice here, 619 millimeters. I know it says meters, it should be millimeters. 619 scan res isn't bad, and we can rig that up quite nicely to be able to lock onto targets nice and quickly. Very useful again if we're going to be hunting frigates. Now, the mass and the inertia make this a little bit more on the cumbersome side. You're looking at 1.6 million kilograms and 2.4 times inertia modifier. That's a little bit heavier than I perhaps would like it to be. I'd like to see that more down to like 2.2, 2.1, but that's just me being picky. The big problem I have with the ALGOS Assault is a flight velocity of 231 meters per second, which is just ridiculously slow, even compared to cruisers. This is a ship that will be outrun by cruisers. I don't ever understand why a destroyer should be outrun by anything except the very fastest cruisers. So like a Stabber Fleet issue, I get it. I get that a Stabber Fleet issue is designed to be a ridiculously fast cruiser. That's the entire purpose of it. But why can this be outrun by things like Omens and Caracals and Vexers? There's no need for that. There's just no need. Anyway, let's then have a look at the trait description for the ALGOS Assault, what this means and what we can do going forward. So being an ALGOS, it of course has that 12.5% increase to drone velocity. This is a really important skill here on the ALGOS Assault. It allows those drones to close with their target nice and quickly, and of course the Dragoon does get extra bonuses to this as well, which means arguably the Dragoon is going to be better at hitting something quickly, but yeah, we're looking at the ALGOS Assault today. And being an assault destroyer, we're getting a 5-second increase to damage control activation time. Now, I still have problems with damage control units. I do think that the passive resistance is a bit low on them, and the fact that ultimately if you don't kill something in the 18 seconds that this activates, the damage control is just worse than an adaptive invulnerability field, but there we go. The long and short of it is that you're getting an extra 5 seconds of damage control activation time out of this, which is not to be sniffed at. And if you're going hunting frigates, that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you can kill that frigate in less than the 13 to 18 seconds of the damage control being active, well, then it's a useful module. Looking at the skills, of course, being a drone frigate, drone destroyer, advanced small drone operation comes into effect, giving us 30% increase to our drone DPS, that's 150% obviously at full training, and a 5% increase to drone EHP. Now, again, it's here that the Dragoon line gets the advantage on drone velocity being the skill one there, so they do close with their target a little bit faster. But here it means if anyone tries to lock onto your drones and shoot them, it takes a couple of extra shots to take them off the grid. 25% additional drone EHP is genuinely not to be sniffed at, and against frigates it means that the tried and tested tactic of spotting an ALGOS attacking you and you just pop its drones one by one and let it use its high slots, which are going to be pathetically weak. Ultimately, it gives it that advantage that it means those drones do take a little bit longer to destroy. Advanced Destroyer Command here also gives us an increase to our Warp Disruptor optimal range and Energy Neutralizer optimal range, 7.5% per level of Advanced Destroyer Command, with a 37.5% overall effect at full training. Now for energy neutralizers, that can be surprisingly useful because it means we can actually hit with a newt at ridiculous range, and more on that later, but the Warp Disruptor optimal range is also pretty nice. It means you can catch something that's warped in a little bit further away than perhaps you might like it to, and micro warp drive into range. It's not ideal because obviously a lot of people do fit like warp stabilization rigs, and obviously even the highest possible warp disruptor can only do 2 points of disruption, whereas a proper rig, a single Tech 3 warp stabilizer rig means that they can break out of that and warp away, but it's something, and it means you can catch a target at range and then glue it down from there, which is kind of what we're intending to do. So let's move into the fitting. This is how I'm currently running my ALGOS Assault, and you can definitely mix this up a little bit and try some other different things here and there as well, which I'll talk about as we go through the fitting. Obviously, for our drone tubes here, I've gone for Mark 9 Warriors, and the reason I've gone for Warriors, simply put, is for their flight velocity. Again, these things can close with a target very, very quickly and start applying their damage nigh on instantly, whereas something like, the Hobgoblins or the Acolytes may take a little bit longer to close with the target. The fact that it's explosive damage doesn't matter all that much. Hopefully you should get through the shields nice and quickly, and if it's a frigate you're up against, well, they just don't have much in the way of anything to speak of anyway. And we're looking at 296.91 DPS here, 220 of which is directly from the drones. That's cold, and that's before we have activated either of the Nestworm drone damage amplifiers, which are of course the drone weapon upgrade modules. The reason we have these is that by fitting these, we're getting that 5% increase to damage bonus and 4.3% reduction to activation time of drones, but we can also activate these to boost that activation time adjustment by 400%, taking it up to literally like 17% faster activation, and the damage bonus, we get an additional 8.6 damage on top there, 13.6 additional drone damage. Really does add up and gives us a very quick way of deleting an incoming ship. Continuing to look at the low slots, I've gone for a dealer small micro warp drive here, again just to let us close the distance in case anything is out of range. That's why we've gone for the interruptive warp disruptor. You can see here I can pin something from 36.09 kilometers away. Obviously that's a little bit further than I'd like to be. I think the drones can't quite reach at that. Now I'm currently at 33 kilometers, so I'd need to close that last 3 kilometers there very quickly, and a micro warp drive allows me to do so. You'll see currently I've actually got a medium energy neutralizer crammed in here, an optimal range there of 14 kilometers with an accuracy fall off of 7.5. That is a medium Nosferatu energy neutralizer. Obviously it has a massive amount of neutralization amount on it there, 211 gigajoules, and it does apply that instantly at anything within 14 kilometers. Obviously the amount neutralized does decrease as you go further, but if a ship drops in at that range, well, sometimes you can flatten its capacitor in almost one activation, which is pretty sweet. Obviously if you wanted to go for things here, you could swap that out for something like a scrambler if you're intending to pin a target down a bit closer if it warps in. You could look at things like Weber fires, though not really necessary with small drones applying their damage incredibly well as it stands. You could even go for something like a large group shield booster here, just to give yourself that little bit extra tank, but again, the aim here is just to grab a frigate and kill it quick. That means I've gone for that all-round damage control here in the bottom. Again, I say those damage resistances are a little bit low for my liking. I'd love to see those literally doubled or tripled up to about 20% there. I think that would really help fix DCUs and make them really useful, but of course, you get a massive 800% boost to those when it is activated, so for that 18-second duration, you take almost no damage at all. So a frigate jumps in, and if they're stupid enough to engage you, they're probably not going to break through your damage control unit before they're dead. The idea though is that if a frigate arrives, you're hopefully going to hit it, lock it, send in the drones and wipe it out of existence before it has a chance to properly react. Finally then, to round this off, I've just gone for disciplined small missile launchers just to give myself a nice 18km range weapon there. Strike cannons also work really well here for good alpha damage. If you're a traditional Gallente pilot, you could put something like rifled railguns in there, again for a decent amount of alpha with a decent amount of range. If you're lucky and someone warps in on you super close with your drones active, yeah, you could, I suppose, theoretically also put snub-nosed railguns there, but for me the range is a bit short. You're probably not going to be able to apply those against many targets. The longer the range, the better. Strike cannons are usually my preferred here, but I'm putting the disciplined small missile launchers on because I know a lot of people who are watching this are training drones and missiles, because obviously that allows you to move into things like the worm, the healer, or indeed the rattlesnake. It's a very common weapon twin there to use drones and missiles. Now, in regards to the rigs here, I've gone simply for drone speed augmenters. These, of course, it's not flight time, this is to do with the speed that they apply damage. That's good drone damage there, applying to a target, and I've gone for a drone control range augmenter just to give myself a little bit of extra range on this thing. Again, this one can be swapped out. You can go for even more drone control range if you want to take it that little bit further, up to, you know, like 40, 50 kilometers out, but it's going to take your drones a while to get there. That only really becomes useful if you're going to be going up against, you know, if you're changing your targets to other destroyers, cruisers, that kind of thing. We're aiming here to be purposefully hunting frigates, particularly interceptors. Anti-Ceptor build. But again, you could even go for the drone damage amplifier here, which would just increase your DPS that little bit more, and does give you a little bit more alpha strike with your drones, so to speak. On the other side of things, an ancillary power grid router with a prototype there because I couldn't afford an ancillary power grid router 3, but if you can get an ancillary power grid router 3, that will be enough to get in there. That's what's allowing us to fit that neutralizer on there. That's just getting that neutralizer crammed in for that extra bit of punch against something that does decide it wants to engage, and if you're lucky, you may find that actually you kind of catch them off guard and just reduce anything that they've got. If they've come in hoping to lock someone down, you've immediately locked that off with the neutralizer. It's got its bonuses, it's got its reasons for having it. Finally then, a targeting system subcontroller just increases our scan resolution, so we lock on that little bit faster. As I said, we're getting 220.79 DPS out of the drones. Defenses are not bad at all. We're nearly at 10,000 on the DPS there. 9,500 is good. 9,500 defense is pretty good there. Sorry, not DPS, defense. Capacitor is astonishingly stable, but only just. It's really only just. Anything hits you, you are now capacitor unstable. Targeting is pretty solid. 925mm isn't really enough to properly grab an interceptor pilot who is on top of their game and has spotted you as they're warping in. The aim is that they're warping into a fleet of different ships, and they spot things like all the different retrievers and procurers. They don't necessarily spot that there is a destroyer in there amongst them, and hopefully you can lock and grab before it goes. Or if you're out hunting in somewhere like Tama, or going through Vale of the Silent Gemina, etc., and you're just trying to catch individual frigate pilots as you go, then again, there is human reaction time. It does need to factor into that. Ideally, if you can train up your target locking skill, or possibly if you, unlike me, if you can get all of those power grids into one rig, then you've opened up that third slot there. You put in a second targeting system subcontroller, and you do shoot all the way up to about 1300 on the scanning there, which is absolutely fast enough to lock down most interceptors. Finally then, the navigation here is a pitiful 316.47 meters per second and a fairly slow warp preparation time of 4 seconds. Again, I do think destroyers need a little bit of love here as far as flight velocity goes, but of course that's cold before we're activating that micro warp drive, and we're aiming to not necessarily be far away from the frigates, but to actually have them warp in on us, or we land on top of them, so hopefully you can catch them before they need to escape anyway. And drones are fairly fast moving, so even if a frigate does try to outrange you, well, you don't necessarily need your ship to keep up, you need the drones to keep up, and the drones, well, drones have a very fast flight velocity there, 5,670 meters per second. Good luck outrunning that if you're trying to just outrange a warp disruptor, which means obviously there you've got, what, 36 kilometers that they need to put between you and them before your drones will give up. Anyway, let's actually showcase this in action then, because obviously it's nice to sit here and talk about it, but it's more fun to watch some ships get blown up, or nearly get blown up at least. Here I'm locking onto a friendly breacher assault who's agreed to a duel, and you'll see that they're sitting at 17 kilometers. I lock on fairly quickly, I send in the drones, and it's very swift for those drones to start applying their damage. The missiles are in range 2 and are going to start going there. I'm now going to activate the neutralizer, which is within range, so now he's got pretty much no capacitor, and the drone damage amplifier. So you can see if someone does actually try to stick around and give you a bit of a fight, how quickly their health goes down. At which point the concept of them trying to find a target and get through, even with a guy here using a medium shield booster to try and get through this, it's very quick for me to get down to hull and then disengage from there. Obviously I didn't lock him down because I don't want to blap him. Very fast against someone who actually does choose to stay and get involved in a fight with you. It's all very well and good me showcasing this against a breacher assault that actually chooses to engage, but what about an actual interceptor that's going to try and escape as soon as it arrives? Well, this is an Anti-Ceptor build, so that's what I'm going to showcase here. I've jumped into an asteroid field, and I've asked Natar to jump in to immediately disengage as soon as he lands, and see if I can catch him and take him down to hull, and see how long that takes. So we're now going to put the drones out and wait for him to arrive. Here he comes. So once that goes below about 10, there we go, 10k, lock on, immediately start activating that warp disruptor, and we'll send the drones in. Do we catch him? Do we catch him? Yes, we catch him there. We're going to send the missiles after him and the drones, put on all the damage amplifiers and the damage control unit, and out-tank this. As soon as he hits hull, I'll pull everything back, and there we go. We've got him. All he can do is try and destroy us. There we are. We're into hull, so let's switch everything off before we... No! 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 I'm sorry, Nata. I tried to pull the drones and the missiles back. Oh, that was so quick. That was so quick. I will send you a replacement Executioner Interceptor. I promise. I'm sorry. Don't hate me. Oh, man. I swear this is the easiest way to get Void pilots to actually fight me in duels, because they know that if I accidentally destroy their ship and blow it up, I'm going to send them a fully fitted replacement, and sometimes that involves me actually giving an upgrade as a special thanks. So if you are in Void, or specifically, because I mainly ask for it directly within Catskull, if you are a member of Catskull, don't be afraid of coming and joining me in a duel. Yes, there are times when you'll lose the ship, but I will always replace it to the absolute fullest of my ability. So yeah, there we are. That's a reason for being in Catskull right there and then. You can duel me, and if you lose, I'll probably send you a new, better, improved ship. That's assuming I do destroy the old one, and we don't manage to stop at hull in time, because holy heck, that was quick. Like, genuinely, I'm sitting there going, right, okay, I think we've got him, there we are, stop. And I think it was the missile volley at the end that just took off that last little bit, and sadly blapped that ship into dust. But as I said, Nata, however I pronounce that, I am sorry if I'm absolutely butchering your name, has been issued with a replacement there. I don't want to blow people's ships up just, when we're supposed to be testing, but it happens. Anyway, folks, there we have it. That is the ALGOS Assault in action as an Anti-Ceptor. Is it absolutely perfect? No. Does it get the job done? Yes. Is it excellent fun to fly? Well, I've been having an absolute blast with it myself. I'm supposedly a dedicated frigate pilot, and here I am spending my days currently flying destroyers and just having a great fun time with them. I'm also spending a lot of time on my battlecruiser ult, which has been really interesting as well. I do love my frigates, but I'm just having so much fun figuring out all the different crazy things you can do with destroyers. I think it is genuinely just Reddit has annoyed me to the point that I'm just out now to prove them wrong at every bloody possibility. So, again, if you want to support me, help me out, help me fight the battle, and teach all those absolute mouth breathers how we do things here in Catskill. Anyway, folks, thank you for watching this one right the way to the end. Let me know how you're finding destroyers, what kind of fun you're getting up to with them. If you've got some awesome kill mails, upload them and then link them in the video description, well, in the comment section down below. I'd love to see some really cool destroyer kills out there. What have you been blowing up in destroyers? Let me know in the comment section down below. Otherwise, folks, happy sailing and see you in New Eden.